annoyed me, because in all the trailers, this is the thing they've been building up to. So nobody who's seen anything about this is not expecting that anyway. Then they start with it, and does nobody else find that an annoying...
In a way, you sort of, Kiefer's character, you think at the start he's going to be another sort of, like, forceful, like, Jack Bauer character, and you see him as this, like, mild-mannered housing minister who's about to be demoted into some sort of ambassador role, and he's getting sort of tossed over for a new blood and a new sort of lick of paint, and then he gets made the designated survivor, and the second half of it is all...
if you've got tossed over on your bingo card, please make a note of that.
Luke, come on. And then the second half is now he becomes president. What are we going to do with this mild-mannered fella who nobody really knows? Can we make him presidential?
He's a bit of a div, isn't he, really?
Clearly, they did very well in showing the kind of, like, you really don't expect him to be in this role. But as a West Wing fan, one of the things I loved was also as well...
Tick, boom!
Shut up. They had this whole thing about the presidential voice, which is something that comes up in that as well. The idea that you have to appear strong for the country, you have to say the right things in the right manner.
Have quite a boring, sort of monotonous voice, which works quite well for his, like, Jack Bauer mutterings. You know, I'm Jack Bauer, and I'm your only chance to get out.
I'm gonna torture you.
Kiefer's contract that if he does a TV show, he has to have annoying children. Because 3 series,
wouldn't they? Yeah.
And also, right. I don't know if you noticed this, Gary. I mentioned this to Luke last night. That Cal Penn, who plays like the speechwriter in this, was on the Barack Obama government. I believe he was an advisor to him.
Really?
Yes.
No. That's cheat chat. That's
Cal Penn. Cal Penn.
Cal Penn. He was in House.
That's what I just said. Cal Penn. Yes.
Right.
He
was
left
he really?
House to go
he left
to
House
Obama.
to become to.
I did not know that.
And then he had to briefly leave the government to do the third Harold and Kumar film.
I struggled with this. I got past the annoying device because I kind of expected it, but I just think there weren't any real characters in this. There was no one to hang my hat on. I didn't know anything about them. I didn't really care about any of them specifically. And I just didn't connect to any of them, and therefore I didn't really care about what was happening around them.
You use this a lot of times for sort of negative things about TV. Do you have to have a character to...
I think, well, we're coming on to a show we're going to talk about in a minute that I think
the ITV programme.
You
use that, and Argyll you mentioned as well.
I think there has to be something, because
even this, which is like a sort of brainless action show, as Gary said it in the introduction, that it's hard not to see Kiefer as anything else but Jack Bauer. I think it's a good idea. I think the characters were well done. I think what it is it needed a different actor playing the Kiefer role. I think if, as I mentioned to you last night, someone like Richard Jenkins, like a character actor, someone who's not known for action.
I would have probably believed in it more if he was somebody who completely...
Or something like a Mark Ruffalo, or someone like that. You know, so I'm just trying to think of, like, character actors. Or even, like, another person who won an Emmy, linked it back to that, Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah, I think there's scope, because basically you still got a whole element of this people who have you don't know who the bad guys are yet. You've got the inside bad guy, the defense secretary, or the defense guy, the chief of staff guy, and you think he's going to be evil or underhand, but you don't know who laid the bomb, so that's going to be interesting. I would say there's a chance that this could end up being a bit like Flash Forward, where
rubbish.
No, yeah. Where the incident is more exciting than the show, and therefore once the incident dies down, there isn't much of a show left. So they're going to have to work hard to make, because the show is really...
Because how long will he be an outsider and a fish out of water?
Well, and exactly, and how long... And of course, he's only the designated survivor in the first episode. After that, he's the president. 2 quick comedies that I've not seen, but Matt and Luke have. One is Speechless. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
It's the first comedy in the States to feature a disabled lead, or at least a comedy to be centred around a disabled lead. The actor has a disability. It's about him and his world and his family. Minnie Driver plays his mum as Minnie Driver. She doesn't really...
Not a fan, Matt, no.
I would say...
She doesn't turn off her Minnie Driverness.
Yes.
That's the
she
problem.
doesn't go into. She goes into overdrive in this quite a lot.
Oh dear.
JJ is the character's name. His mum is
Yes.
Maya, played by Minnie Driver. You get the impression that I think they said the family's moved about 6 times in 2 years. They're trying to find
him the
this
right
perfect
location.
school. Yeah. This is the first time where they, instead of him being in special ed, he can be in a class with his peers. He'll have someone speaking for him, which at the beginning is this like annoying woman who's very up in your face.
JJ is so excited. He's never had an aide speak for him before. Just Mum. Is my new voice guy cool?
Well, it's a she, and...
JJ! Hello, sugar! I cannot wait to be the ambassador for such a hip young dude. I hit the Urban Dictionary and got up on all the lingo. I was thinking I'd call you J-Tizzy.
Oh, yeah, don't do that.
What I liked about this was how it affects the other children, certainly the younger brother.
We should stay. I like the school. They have a planetarium with a girl in it who likes me.
We can't stay just because you met some girl.
No, of course not. It's something I want to. Who cares?
I'm not going to apologise for taking care of your brother. He got the right mum.
Yeah, he did.
Go upstairs.
There's no upstairs here.
You go where your room is.
Where's the comedy in this? I mean, the way you're saying it...
There's not a lot of comedy in it.
That's what I'm asking.
It's not, but in the same instance, though, Gary, it's not dark in any way either.
Wonder Years sort of thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gentle,
family-centric.
Okay.
And the younger brother, is sort of a bit miffed at having to be moved around. He almost feels like he's being overlooked because his brother's got the disability. On the first day at school, he's the only one who sort of has a good day. He meets a girl at the sort of planetarium. He's very interested in astronomy and things like that. And it's like, why don't you pay attention to me? It's all about him. And
there were bits of it I didn't like. I didn't like the opening where they are racing to get... I don't know whether they're racing to use a coupon that's going to expire.
Breakfast place or something.
But I did like them turning up and parking in the disabled space and I thought it was really well done. And
you've got sort of more of a sort of
I'll have a
unique
different
take
viewpoint
on this. And what did you think to the presentation? Because he wasn't sort of like a typical disabled. He swore on his on his thing. He was very much. He's trying to give people the finger, but he had to raise his thumb and things like that.
I don't think we're doing it. It sounds bizarre. I've seen this and it sounds bizarre describing it. I don't know. I think
the only character who I found a bit cliched was the gardener guy who became his aide.
Yes, but even that I liked.
Wisecracking black gardener.
They did a good job at getting JJ's tone right, I think. They did a good job of making him a character of his own right. I spoke to the director, Christine Gernon, who's moved over from the UK to the States to direct this. She's formerly worked on Hepburn and all 3 series of Gavin and Stacey. I said to her I enjoyed it. She said, we realised very early on we weren't going to get everything right, so our mantra was not to get everything wrong.
Right,
so
okay, good.
You enjoyed it. We haven't got the full series pickup, so it depends on whether we get the pick. I start prep on episode 9 this week, and we have an original order of 13. I liked it.
I would say it's like a gentle coming of age type thing with this disabled child. It looks at what it's like to be the sibling of a disabled child and having to deal with.
It manages not to be sentimental, it manages not to be dark, and I hope it comes to E4 and Gary can see it for himself.
Well, yeah, I was just to say, where do you see it landing? And I suppose E4 would be a perfect
But the Goldbergs is still good. This week they did a takeoff of the Breakfast Club.
Are we season 4 now?
I never stuck with it. Talking of long-running American shows... How many series is South Park? 23 now? 20. Wow. I know that Comedy Central over here did a big South Park night.
Comedy Central are showing it the Friday after it airs in the States on Wednesday, I think. I've always been a fan of South Park, even in sort of lesser series. Some people still remember the early days of South Park where it was just toilet humour, like the movie and things like that.
Mr. Hanky and all that.
For a while now, they've been certainly in a more sort of satirical vein. It's very much focusing on... Well,
yeah, they've been a lot of trouble, haven't they, with the Scientologists?
Yeah, well, everything, they sort of try and pick out things that maybe other people don't want to deal with, but do it in a way where, because they do it through these children who don't really understand why the adults are reacting in a certain way. The last few seasons as well, instead of doing like reset everything after every episode. They've had like an ongoing arc.
Right.
So in this series, they're looking at online culture and trolling and things like that. There's the second episode, which airs tonight in the UK, is very good. It looks at how basically if someone goes off Twitter or Facebook now, it's like they've died basically.
That is good.
One of the girls early on in the second episode, one of the girls quits Twitter. And you see it, they almost do it like a suicide. So she's standing over a bridge, she drops her phone into the river, and just 2 little birds fly away, like the Twitter birds.
Oh, yeah, the Twitter birds. Very good.
And then they have like a memorial service for her with her sitting right there because she's quit Twitter. So everyone's like ignoring her now. They're also sort of focusing on the election a bit.
Good.
But they have, instead of Donald Trump, they've had Mr. Garrison as their sort of proxy as Donald Trump.
Yeah, I would imagine they'll get...
In the last season, they had him running for candidate alongside Caitlyn Jenner. And in this series,
when you say it, I want to watch it.
They've given him I want to watch it. They've given him like an orange makeover now, Mr. Garrison. So it's very much like... Because he had his like moment of zen. It's like, what do I do when I actually win? What are we going to do, Caitlyn, when we actually win? Because that's the thing. What is Trump going to do? He's very blowhard, but he's not going to... He doesn't know what he's doing, basically.
And now we're going to the reviews with the northern person, Matt.
Hello.
Hey.
Let us start with National Treasure, which is the new Channel 4 drama. This starred Robbie Coltrane as Paul Finchley, who... I mean, I loved even the first 2 minutes of this. It's a great sort of character introduction where you saw him walk through this sort of like old prison, which is now like a club, and you see him like preparing this speech, going on stage to give a Lifetime Achievement Award to his sort of comedy partner, played by Tim McInerney. Paul Finchley is now hosting a sort of afternoon quiz show on Channel 4. But obviously the big story is the police sort of come to his door, say someone's come forward, allegations of rape have been made, and we sort of all know where this is going. This is something that's played out in the press a lot with Jimmy Savile. The Savile's referenced a lot throughout this. They think I'm Jimmy Savile. Julie Walters plays his wife, and she's very good, like the wife who stands by him. She's aware of his indiscretions. She's aware that he's had a lot of affairs over the years, and he's still like sleeping with prostitutes, as we see in this first episode. His daughter, played by Andrea Riseborough, who's sort of had drug problems. She lives in like a halfway house. Julie Walters and Robbie Coltrane look after her children on the weekend. The rest of the time they live with their dads. And now this is where me and Luke disagree on this, because
It's the only thing we
really enjoyed the scene with Paul and his daughter. Luke, you weren't such.
I think it's the scene where they talk about the dream. It just goes on a tiny bit too long.
I thoroughly enjoyed that bit.
Yeah.
I think it was fantastic. Julie Walters was excellent. She
wasn't in this enough for my life.
Not in it enough, but I think you could tell. And I just
she's
thought
always
good
in everything. I mean, they have cut this full of national treasures. Julie Walters, Robbie Coltrane,
That's the irony of it.
Well, that's the irony of it.
Yeah.
I'm a little. The title of it is a bit strange.
Why?
Maybe because you've got the Nicolas Cage movies, I suppose. Because no, but I mean,
oh my Christ! And this would be Gary's final podcast appearance.
There's bound to have been somebody who went, "Oh, that Nicolas Cage movie's on."
Yes, you.
No, not me. I'm just saying, there's so many other things they could have called it. I understand why they're doing it.
Why is it only on for an hour? This Nicolas Cage movie. I thought.
Yeah, maybe
when did they go? They're playing the sequel next week.
The things that were most believable was the scene where he went to Channel 4, and they actually shot it at Channel 4.
Yeah.
I was going to say that is Channel 4.
Yeah, I was there only a few weeks ago. And that Channel 4 were able to make themselves almost look like the bad guys. Like, we're going to have to take you off the show.
You went to a meeting at Channel effing 4.
Yeah.
The line that Julie Walters says.
Well, you saw Robbie Coltrane left, and at the same time Paul Hollywood arrived.
First things first, I want you to know there's no truth to any of this stuff.
Our first concern, Paul, is to check that you're okay.
Well, I'm fine, but I'd like you to ignore, I'm asking you to ignore all the shite they're writing about me in the papers. It's simply the local constabulary flexing its arms.
Yeah, it's just background noise, as far as I'm concerned. It's just, I'm not an audience.
So this is assurance that it won't affect...
Simon, listen, I know in the audience's eyes this might be slightly different, but I reckon I could do a Deaton or a Ross on this one, you know? brazen it out, turn it into a joke. I'm not sure what the joke would be, but we could hammer that out with the writers. After all, country where you're innocent until proven guilty.